90% of blood is water and things like that, that we may not understand. But we're going to get to know all these things today on the show. And with me is Dr. Geoffrey. You're welcome, Doctor.
Thank you, Fiona.
How have you been?
I've been well.
You've been well?
I've
Very well.
been well.
Yes.
That's great.
So in the couple of weeks, we've talked about different things, and all these things, HIV, hepatitis, have all come, or let's say, are contracted through blood, and it is blood that is damaged out of these things. So we want to know, what is blood?
Good morning, our viewers. Thank you for taking this opportunity again to watch us and at least learn something about our health. Health is very important. And if you manage to secure some time to watch this program and you get to learn one or two things, that's very important.
Yes.
Yes. So today, we're going to talk about blood.
Yes, blood.
You said everything. When you talk about getting infections, transmission,
Blood is involved in every aspect. If it is a clot, it's blood.
It's blood,
If it's a heart attack, it's something to do with blood.
blood.
High blood pressure,
But when
diabetes,
you go to
everything.
hospitals, and then they take the blood from you, and then they do the investigation.
Yes,
Out to
blood.
blood. So what's blood?
Yes, what is blood?
Blood is a liquid tissue, or it is a fluid that is found in our vessels in the body. Blood is very important. Actually, if you don't have enough blood, that is trouble for you. So you need to have blood for you to have life. Without blood, you can't have life.
Without blood, you can't have life.
So-
Blood is a liquid tissue or a fluid found in the body, you
Yes,
said.
yes.
So without blood, you cannot have life.
You can't have life because blood is very important. It does a lot of things that we're going to break down. There's many things that blood does. Well, blood plays a very important role of transporting food in the body.
It's a transport system in the body
Yes.
for food.
Yes. Because when we eat a food, imagine we've eaten posho, we've eaten beans, we have eaten meat, and this food is supposed to be used by the body. But in as much as we try to chew the food, break down into small pieces. It goes into the body, into the stomach, the intestines, again grounded or digested and broken down again into micro units. Then these micro units of food are absorbed
In the body system,
in the body from the intestines and they enter into the blood.
the bloodstream,
So the food is carried
by the blood.
to the respective body parts which need specific nutrients. That's
Okay.
what happens with blood.
So blood is a transporter of food that is broken down.
Yes, that's one of its functions. Because now imagine like the brain. The brain needs glucose to function.
Okay.
But how does that glucose get into the brain?
Into the brain, yeah.
Because we've eaten food and food has gone to the stomach.
It won't
But
go
then-
up to the brain.
Yes. How it reaches the brain is going to be carried
By the blood.
by the blood
Oh.
to all parts. The muscles, they need energy, excuse me, in form of glucose. So how do they get the glucose which they need?
Let me ask, in the muscles, are there like veins, or
Yes, in every part of the body,
there's a
there are blood vessels.
oh, so
Yes.
okay.
Blood vessels are categorized, they are capillaries, they are veins. So they are small capillaries of blood in every part of the body, even in the eye. They may not be visible, that when you look at them,
You can see them.
But they're everywhere. That's why every part of the body, when you cut, you find blood. So every part of the body must receive blood for it to survive. Actually, when any body part does not receive blood, it dies off.
It just dies off.
Yes, it will die off. Excuse me.
Sorry.
Because it's not to be receiving food, that's in the first case. Secondly, another function for blood is transports oxygen. Oxygen is like the air we breathe in, and every part of the body
Needs oxygen.
Needs oxygen. The cells of the body, they need oxygen for them to
To
survive.
live.
And by the way, oxygen is needed in the processes of the body, like at some point breaking down of the food,
The
absorption of the food.
Oxygen is of importance.
Yeah, oxygen is of very big importance. So when the part of the body does not receive oxygen, it will also die automatically.
So blood and oxygen work concurrently.
Actually, oxygen is carried in the blood. Blood has a component, or a pigment, a protein called hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is the one which is responsible for transporting. The oxygen we get is bound to that protein and carried to the respective body parts.
Okay.
So, blood is important in distributing or carrying oxygen to the different parts of the body that need oxygen. And at the same you swallow a tablet, you have taken maybe Coartem and anti-malarial, and it's swallowed into the stomach. But once it's swallowed, it is absorbed still into the bloodstream and is carried to the body part where the bacteria or the virus is. So all those are very good functions of blood, amongst the many others blood has.
Okay.
Yes.
So what types of blood are, I wouldn't say, okay, yeah, maybe types of blood are there, because besides that of blood, what types of blood are there?
Actually, there's nothing like types of blood, if we may say, but in the layman's language, I think we leave it like that.
Okay, yeah. That's not.
Yeah, we leave it at that. All blood is red.
Okay.
So what we call the types of blood, we classify blood depending on what it has. And the major basis for us classifying blood is looking at what is in there. And these are the antigen that a specific blood or one's blood carries. Now, for example, if somebody is blood group A, because we have the ABO blood group system, that's what we use for grouping blood. And then there are other blood systems. You have the rhesus blood system. We also use it for classifying the blood type. And then we have another one called the Bombay. Actually, there are over 36 blood groups.
36.
Research, yes. But the major ones, that is the ABO and then the rhesus group, and that's what we always do. Wherever you will find that. But there are very many others, but they are insignificant.
Okay.
Yes. So, for blood types, if you talk about blood types, we have all the blood groups. We have blood group A. We have blood group B. We have blood group AB. And then we have blood group O. Yeah, these are the common blood groups that we
know.
We all have. Yes, you may be either blood group A, you may be blood group B, you may AB, or blood group O. So, for one to be blood group O, let's begin with A, and then we get to O.
Okay, we begin with A, then we get to O.
Yes. So, for one to be blood group A, it means this person's red cells carry an antigen A. So, if your red cells on its surface carries an antigen A, then
your blood group
A
is A.
If your red cell carries an antigen B, then it will be blood group B. But for AB, it means it has both A and B. Yes, so you become blood group AB. Then, with blood group O, it does not have
any antigen.
Yes.
Okay, what's an antigen?
An antigen, how can we explain an antigen? So, I think an antigen is a marker in simple terms.
Okay.
It's like a marker which specifically defines something. Antigens are of different types because we have that is a blood group antigen, but then sometimes we have even disease antigens.
Okay.
So these shouldn't be confused because you may go for a test and they say we are going to do an HIV test and they're doing an antigen test. Yes, there's an antibody and an antigen test. So most times antibodies are produced against the antigen.
Okay.
The antigen elicits the production of the antibody. The antibody most of the time is against the antigen. And it comes even when it comes to the blood groups. That's why when...
why I asked this, because you said blood group O doesn't have any antigen.
Yes.
So that means for it, it doesn't have any marker.
It has, but naturally it was created like that. But it has antibodies. Yes, it has antibodies.
Okay.
So if you transfused somebody, let me say your blood group O, and then I transfused you with the blood group A, the antibodies in the blood group O will react against the antigens. That's why you're supposed to get blood of the same type.
Of the same type.
Yes, like the one you have. If your blood group A, you're supposed to get blood group A. If your blood group B, you're supposed to blood group B. But blood group O, a person with a blood group O, for him is a universal donor. He can donate to
all the other groups.
All the other groups. You can, even when your blood group A, you can receive blood group O. Oh. Yeah. Why? It has no
marker.
Antigens.
No antigens.
It has no antigens. And then blood group
AB
is a universal receiver. Yeah, you can receive from A because you already have A. You can receive from B, and at the same time you can receive from O. Yes. But then we talked at blood in the beginning. I think when you're introducing here, I heard you mentioning some bits of percentages. So I think we need to get to the
know
blood.
The blood.
What makes up blood? What's this blood? Because for us we see a red liquid flowing out of our body, but what really makes out blood? Blood is made out of a number of components. There are many constituents in blood. There is water, which makes a very big percentage. By the biggest percentage in blood is water. And then in that blood, there are cells in the blood. And these cells, we have the red blood cells, or the ones we call the erythrocytes. Then we have the white blood cells, the ones we call the leukocytes. And then we have the platelets. All these make up what we call blood. But again, we can go further to break down. Like for white blood cells, white blood cells again divided into other types. Yeah, there are other types of blood cells because we have what we call the lymphocytes. We have the eosinophils. We have the basophils.
Those complex things.
Yes, we have the neutrophils. All those are white blood cells. Yes. And then the red cells, for them they're just red cells. Then the platelets, which are fragments of the megakaryotes, or what I call the big white cells in the layman's language. So they are fragments, but they all make up what we call blood. So when we see blood flowing, all those constituents are there.
Present.
Yeah, that's what makes up blood. Now plus other fluids like water. Yes, water makes the biggest percentage of blood. So that's what we call blood.
Okay.
Yes.
Now you were talking about the blood groups A, B, AB, and O. Those blood groups that are there, is it a determinant from maybe, let's say, a mother and a father that a child will get this particular blood group, or can you find a child that is O, yet the mother is A and the father is B? Those kinds of things. How is it passed down to the next generation?
Blood groups are genetically inherited. You get your blood group from your parents. But these blood groups, we have, they are genetically inherited, but some of these genes, in a medical term, in a scientific term, some of the genes are the ones we call the recessive, or we could say they are inferior genes in the layman's language. They are inferior genes. So like genes for blood group O, they are inferior to A and to B. So we're just making an assumption. A mother is blood group O, and then the father is blood group B. Are you getting that? So there are possibilities, if a mother is blood group O and the father is blood group B, that the children produced, you may get a child who is blood group B. And then it's possible that you can get a child who is blood group O. Are you getting that? But it is very impossible that you get a child who is blood group A. Are you getting that? Why? Now B is O is recessive when you compare it to B. So if a child inherits O from the mother and then inherits B from the father, B will suppress O, and O may not appear when you do the blood group. A person will appear to be blood group B, but we have what we call the genotype. The genotype is the constituent of your blood group. The genes that make up. So you have a gene for B, and then you have for O, but B is more superior than O, so it suppresses O and you appear to be B. Then for a person to be O, it means this person must have inherited the two recessive genes for O from both parents. But you can be A, and even the other person might be A when you're both A, but you could get children who have blood group O. Why? You could be blood group O, but when your genotype is O, A, the A suppresses the O and you appear to be A. Even the father could be blood group A O, and the A suppresses the other inferior gene. But should your baby inherit the O from the father and then from the mother, then this child can be blood group O even when you two parents are blood group A. So blood group is purely genetically inherited. You inherit your blood group from your parents.
Okay, still about the blood group. You said there's the universal donor and the universal recipient. And then there's the A, and then there's the B. Yeah. So at what point is someone considered to get a blood transfusion? Because let's say if a body, how many liters, let me first ask, how many liters of blood does a human being have?
Actually, an average adult human being is supposed to be having at least 5
liters of blood.
Yes.
Now, at what point is someone considered to have a blood transfusion?
Okay, now when you go to the hospital, we measure the amount of blood, literally the amount of blood in a simple language, but what for us we look at is the hemoglobin concentration. When you look at your hemoglobin, it gives us an idea about, because you need the hemoglobin in your blood for the body to do the rest of the functions. Because like we talked about, hemoglobin is responsible for transportation of food, like the blood, oxygen. So if your body is depleted of such, then you are at risk of developing complications. You may get stroke, you may get a blackout if the brain is not receiving enough oxygen. Anything can happen to you. So we look at your hemoglobin concentration. Now for a mature adult like you, for an average person, adult female, at least we expect your hemoglobin concentration to be at least from 12 to at least 14. Yes. So if your HB levels or your hemoglobin levels drop seriously below levels of 7, 6, 5, then you're at risk, and then you need to be transfused. Yes. So that's a marker we use to know a person who needs to be transfused. or not to be transfused. We don't collect blood out of somebody and we say we measure this person has less than 5 liters, but
Yeah.
we measure somebody's hemoglobin concentration. Yes. So a person may lose blood or may be at a risk or at a point where he needs blood as a result of many factors. One, it could be as a result of an illness, like malaria. If you're suffering from malaria or sick, you may lose blood, because what happens, these malaria parasites grow, or they develop, or they live in red blood cells. So they cause hemolysis or breakdown of the red cells. So when these red cells are broken down, you lose blood, or the HB is lost, or is reduced in that case. So illnesses or sicknesses can cause the reduction in HB and may lead you to be transfused. It could be other autoimmune infections. It could be accidents. Yeah, sometimes we get involved in motor accidents and we lose a lot of blood. We have mothers delivering, they lose a lot of blood in the labor suits and they need to be transfused. And any other condition which may lead to loss of blood and you may need to be transfused. Yes. So blood is medicine in the other way, because at that moment it becomes medicine to save a life.
So you've talked about the hemoglobin levels and all that. What of a child? How many liters, how many standard liters does a child need?
Now for a child it will depend. There's nothing like by the way, excuse me, even for an adult, there is nothing that a person must, but that is an average. Our viewers will forgive me, my voice, I don't know what I'm doing.
Sorry.
It is not a must that a person must have 5 liters, but that is an average.
An average.
It is an average compared, because we have ranges of the normal ranges. Like I've been telling you for now, like for a female adult, you're saying the range is between 12 at least 14. Up to 14. That is okay. Then for a gentleman, very much actually, at least we expect you to have an HB of 12 over, maybe up to 16 or 17 grams per deciliter. That's acceptable. So it is a range. So we shouldn't say that if you don't have 14, then you're not okay, or if you don't have 12, you're not okay, or if you don't have 18, you're not okay. But it's a range.
It's a range.
There is no specific figure that if you don't have 15, then you're in danger. No, that's not right. So even for children, they have a range where they're supposed to fall. By the children's HB is expected to be high. So if it is again very low, again that's not right, because they're also human beings. When their HBs also go down, they're also transfused. Yes.
So at what point does anemia come in?
In the first case, what is anemia?
What is anemia?
Yeah, anemia, this is a condition where the body's hemoglobin goes below the normal values. Yes, actually in simple terms we may say that this is a condition where a person has little blood. Yes, if you have little blood in your body, then you have anemia.
Is it a disease?
It could be a disease and it may not be a disease, just like we've been talking.
It's a
because
condition.
you could have lost blood
Because of
as a result of an accident. That can't be a disease. But it could have been caused by a disease. Like we talked about malaria, we have cancers, they may cause anemia. But if you lost blood during delivery, it's not a disease, but you lost blood, you can become anemic, or anemia can come as a result of just losing blood out of an accident or out of any other part of the body. So we cannot call that a disease,
It's
but
just
it's a
a
condition where you have little blood in your body.
But most times you'll find that in hospitals, if you visit hospitals, most times you will find that they'll say maybe a child is anemic, children are anemic, this person is anemic, and you'll also find people saying, I have a disease, I have anemia.
Okay, I think we shall get another day
and talk about that.
Anemia is broad, because there are different types of anemia, hemolytic anemia. So we need to get to anemia, I think as a topic we discussed extensively the different types of anemia, how they present, how they cause, how they are managed, and everything. But for today's case, anemia is just that condition where you have little blood
or your
in your body
hemoglobin levels
has
are
gone
low.
because that's we use to measure that this person needs to be transfused. So that's how we get to know this person has little blood, literally. Somebody has little blood.
How long does blood live?
How does blood live?
Or how long does blood take to expire?
To expire in the body, the red blood cells live for a specific lifespan in the plasma. Actually, normal red blood cells, they live for a period of around 121 days. And after 121 days, the body will make new cells. So it's a process.
Then what happens to the old cells that are dead?
They are broken down.
They're broken down in the body.
The body has its own system. The liver and the spleen, they help in the breaking down of those red cells which have lived their expiry. And the waste products out of the hemolysis or the breaking down of those cells are passed out in stool. Yes, the body breaks down, and then all the waste products are removed by the liver, and then they will get into the blood, they carried into the stomach, into stool. Actually, it's one of the reasons why we eat white food, and then when we pass out, the stool is not white. The other constituent of hemoglobin, or the breakdown of the red cells, is now added together with the stool and passed out to the stool. So that breakdown of the red cells contributes to the browny color of the stool we pass out. Yes. So that's how those excess red blood cells are eliminated throughout the body.
So the body, after 120 days, it reproduces new cells.
Yes. Actually, if those cells don't die and they stay in the body for more than those days or forever, then that is something different. That could be cancer, because it is cancerous cells which don't die. For them, they're immortal, but any body cell lives for a specific period of time, and then the body replenishes itself and produces new cells.
Okay. Then when the blood is outside the body, let's say I have donated my blood, and it's been kept in a refrigerator after being sieved and all those things. It's been kept in a refrigerator. What's its lifespan?
By the blood does not stay for long. That's why people always, you are receiving calls, you come and donate blood, come and donate blood, come and donate blood. Because when we get that blood, by the way, there's another thing that we need to know. You know, when you go to donate blood, we collect blood, but when blood is taken to the blood bank, this blood is tested, and then it is separated into different components. Because not everybody that is transfused, that will get whole blood. But just like we talked about the components of blood, you may find a person who may not need whole blood, but simply needs platelets, a specific component of the blood. Then you may find somebody who just needs the concentrate of the white cells without the plasma. And then you may find somebody who needs purely plasma. So when blood gets out to the environment, may not be that the same as in the body. So it will not live for the 121 days. Because it's outside the body. Yeah. So on average, blood may be kept safe for use at least for a period of 21 days. Yes. And blood will be expired.
And it is thrown out.
Yeah, by the way, when blood is expired, it's thrown out.
So
it's not recommended.
Now I think I'm trying to understand why there's a constant urge for people to donate blood.
Yes.
Because as much as they donate the blood, it gets to a point it expires.
Yes.
And that means the banks run out.
Yeah, the banks run out.
So you have to continually donate blood.
And when you get to the hospitals, there are very many people who need blood. So when you receive a call, or when you hear about people calling up, you come and donate blood, please come and donate blood, because blood can only be got from people. there has not come up any technology to
manufacture blood.
So the only source of blood is from us. So we have to go and donate blood wherever there is a call, because you never know. It could be you, it could be your brother, your sister, or your parent. And even if, as an action of kindness and love, yeah, it's good to go and donate blood. By on the other hand, it also helps you as a donor. Because if you have a lot of blood beyond the normal levels that the body requires,
coming to that,
it can become a problem to you.
Okay, let's go for a short break, and when we return, we are going to continue. I was actually going to ask, isn't there a point when someone has excess blood and the blood becomes actually even dangerous to their body?
There is that point.
Okay, we're going to talk about that when we return from our break.
You're watching Rest TV. Wumula.
Uganda is gifted by God with the richest soils, moderate weather patterns and seasons, and is one of the fastest growing economies in Africa. Agricultural growth is helping our country to progress towards the second sustainable development goal of ending hunger and all forms of malnutrition by 2030. The value of farming to individuals and world economies cannot be overstated, since the agriculture sector continues to be identified as possessing the biggest potential to all levels of ideas, expertise, and capitalization. Join us here at Rest TV as we go deep on the challenges, opportunities, and progress in Uganda's agriculture terrain, learn from individuals and experts in farming for business, research, and education, as well as government policy and plans, financing providers, and a lot more. The future is farming and agriculture is wealth. Showing Tuesday 7:30 p.m. and Saturday 11 a.m.
Bonjour, chers frères et sœurs.
Pastor Jonas Iki Mabalo of Laboni Church Uganda invites the general public for the powerful conference starting this Wednesday 11 December to Friday 13 December 2019. The time is 5 to 8 p.m. This will be crowned with the inaugural service this Sunday from 9 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. The theme is God with us. All this happening at Laboni Church Uganda, located at Makinde Ends Corner, Mubaraka, Kiembe Road. The guest preacher is Pastor Pascal Kalala of Laboni Church from DRC. Don't miss.
You're watching Rest TV. Wumula.
Welcome back from that short break. Before we went for our break, we were talking about someone having a lot of blood in their body, and it could become, it could cause an alarm in the body. What could be the cause of someone having excess blood in their body? Is it their body system is very active, or is it genetic or something?
It may be either way, but one, let's see, you brought something. How is blood made? Where does it come from? Because we have blood in the body, but where does blood come from?
It is manufactured in the body.
Where?
From the blood tissue.
From the blood tissue. Okay, every answer is correct and your answer is right. But from the when you get down to the starting point, where does even the baby get blood? When is in the mother's stomach? Does the mother share blood with the child? No. So the baby makes its own blood, or the fetus makes its own blood when. So in those stages from the embryo, there's what we call the yolk sac. It's the one which is responsible at the genesis of blood synthesis, or that process we call it hemopoiesis, the process of how blood is made. So at the primary stages, the yolk sac is responsible for manufacturing the blood, and then the liver takes over at some stage, and then when this baby is born and grows into an adult, the bones or the bone marrow in our bones take up the responsibility
Of making blood.
of making blood. But they get a signal to manufacture or to make a blood by a hormone. Yes, this hormone is called the erythropoietin, and this hormone is produced by the kidney. Yes, so when this hormone is produced, it gives a signal to the bones or to any other part of the body which is responsible for producing the blood cells, because not strictly that only the blood is made in the bone marrow, which is that soft tissue in our bones, but other organs of the body may also produce some cells. Now, like the lymph nodes can produce the lymphocytes. These are white blood cells. Yes. And then the spleen also produces some cells. So the signal is given, and then this blood is produced. So in that context, if there is much secretion of the hormone
Of that hormone.
erythropoietin, it may result in overproduction of the cells. Then the other thing, which I don't want people to misquote me, I'm talking about production of cells. If there is an excessive production of cells, most especially the white blood cells, then it could be a sign of a cancer, and this is what we call leukemia. Cancer of the
Cancer
blood.
of the blood.
Yes, but this specifically goes to the white blood cells, immature white blood cells. So over secretion of immature white blood cells, that could be a sign of a cancer. Yes. So it could be as a trigger of the excessive production of erythropoietin, which is a hormone, and blood could be produced excessively. Yes. And another thing could be overreaction of the bone marrow, when it also produces a lot of blood excessively beyond what the body needs, or some abnormality with the coordination of the body system, like in the secretion of the hormones, the signaling to body. You see, the body has its own system. Nobody tells us, but it has its own sensors. It is able to detect that there is something wrong here and I need to do this to correct the other. God just created us like this, woven properly with all systems needed to regulate our body system. When it is cold, can get a signal, and then the body can increase the flow of blood. That's one of the functions of blood, is to regulate temperature.
The temperature of the body.
Yes, the temperature of the body. Because if you're somewhere and it is very cold, the body has that mechanism to increase the superficial flow of blood, so that you increase some
Generate
temperature,
heat.
increase temperature. Yes, and you kept, and then the body is kept within the ranges of the normal temperature.
Okay. Okay. Now, before we get into some questions, I wanted to ask about donation. Or like you said, some people need particular things, the platelets or the concentrate or the white blood cells and all that. When our blood is taken, I have donated blood and my blood is taken to the lab before it goes to the bank. Do they separate those components?
Yes. So what happened is the process of what happens to your blood when it is collected, because from the point where you go donate from, it is labeled. It is labeled, it's marked very well, and after it being marked, it is now taken to the lab and they have to carry out tests, because during the process of donation, most of the time people are not taken through the screening processes. So one, this blood, before it is given out to be given to people, it must be disease free. So it must be screened for all the possible diseases which could be transmitted through blood donation. Or blood transfusion as such. So this involves HIV, hepatitis B, syphilis, hepatitis C, and any other diseases. Secondly, this blood is grouped, because we need to know which blood group does Fiona have. So Fiona has blood group A, and then there's something that we're missing out. We talked about the rhesus type.
I wanted to come to that.
So we need to know whether it's blood group A rhesus D positive or rhesus D
Negative.
because the rhesus typing is also very important.
Important.
Because should somebody get blood, let me say, because for rhesus type it only has two.
It's either positive.
It is either rhesus D positive or rhesus D,
D negative.
So when we mean by rhesus D, you know, that antigen D, it is either there or not there. If it is there, it is positive. If it's not there, then it is negative. So it is also very important to note, don't only go and say I'm blood group A, I need to get blood group A, but we need to consider the rhesus bit of it. Because should you get the opposite, then there will be a transfusion reaction. The antibodies will react against the antigen.
The rhesus D positive can react against the negative.
Very well, and that will be very serious. By the way, these transfusion reactions can be fatal if they are not managed properly. Yes, they can be fatal. And when it comes now to women in the reproductive stages, it is very important to know your rhesus type. Because if your blood group, in the blood group, either A or B, rhesus D negative, and then you're blessed with a child who is rhesus D, in the blood group D positive, then your body can produce antibodies to fight against your baby in the stomach, because now the body finds the other as a foreign object in your body. It has antigens, the D antigen rhesus D, and then the mother doesn't have, but it has antibodies against. So it can be an autoimmune system which will fight your baby, and this may result in testibirth. You produce your baby when the baby is dead. That's one of the possible causes of just the blood group. Secondly, you may have an underweight birth. You produce a baby when the baby is very small. And then it may cause hemolytic disease of the newborn. You produce the baby when the baby is body color, when the baby is jaundiced. Yes, there is hemolysis already. The red blood cells are broken down. How are they broken down? It's an autoimmune reaction. The antibodies of the mother are fighting
the baby and resulting into the breakdown of the red cell, what we call hemolysis. So this baby will be born when it's jaundiced, the eyes are yellow, the body will be also yellowish, and this baby stands little chances of surviving. Now, let me ask at that very point. How will I know that the child maybe I will conceive in my stomach or in my womb will have a different rhesus D, either negative or positive from me?
Actually, you not know what your baby will be, but you can know, you yourself. And if you know that your rhesus D negative, there is an antidote for that. If you know, if you went to the hospital, to the clinic, and then they did the test, the blood grouping, and they found you to be rhesus D negative, and you're expecting or you plan to have a baby, then the doctors know what to do.
So most cases it's with people that are negative.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. They will give you an anti-D immunoglobulin which will neutralize those antibodies, and then you have a normal baby.
Okay.
But if you don't, those are the risks which may come with that. Actually, the firstborns may survive, but the babies who that come after, they may not survive, because the antibodies will have built up to higher levels to effectively now fight the other baby.
The next baby coming. So
that
means every time you conceive, you have to go continuously for that antidote.
It's better to do it if.
But okay, what causes it? Could it be that maybe the father is of a different blood group?
There is nothing like it is caused by anything.
It just happens.
Blood groups, when you have your blood group, you have your blood group for life, unless otherwise. Find there are some conditions which may come up and your blood group changes, suddenly, like for cases of bone marrow transplant. Yes, if you have a bone marrow transplant, and let's say you have blood group A, and you've gotten a bone marrow transplant from another blood group, person with another blood group, there's a possibility that your blood group will change because the bone marrow is the one which is responsible
for
yes,
production
for
of blood.
cells. So when it begins to produce the blood, it will begin to produce the blood of the blood group of the stem cells that it has in the bone marrow. Then other conditions.
So won't you have a problem in your body? Or you stabilize after
you
some
stabilize
time?
after. Yeah, these are conditions which happen in life as therapeutic means. They are not normal processes, but to save a life, they are them. To some conditions, they are the only solutions. Like when we get to sickle cell anemia, yeah, bone marrow transplant is also a good process. Actually, the best than to help those people who have sickle cell, because for a bone marrow, it's the one which is responsible for production of the cells, and if it is producing the cells which are sickled, then it produces for time, I mean for life.
For life.
But when you get a bone marrow transplant, then the normal bone marrow will begin to produce the normal cells. Then some other condition could be caused by diseases and maybe cancers, which may cause mutations or changes to genes according to the genes but these are very rare cases, very, very rare cases. But once you have your blood group, you'll have that group
for life. So now I'm asking, if like let's say I am, let's say, blood group A positive or A negative, and my husband is maybe B positive. One of us is a negative and another one is a positive. Is it possible to happen in the future that you could have a child that maybe you're negative and the child is positive, and that happens?
Yeah, there's that possibility, because just like we said, these blood groups are inherited from our parents. They are genetically inherited. So there's a possibility.
So now,
if in the lineage there is that
means we should also, besides looking for other things, we should also look at the compatibility of blood groups or the rhesus groups.
Okay, but when it is with the side of a man, it does not affect the baby.
It's with the lady.
Affects with the lady. But if your husband's blood group and a blood group negative, then
it's
there's
okay.
nothing to worry about.
It only happens especially if the lady is negative, blood group negative.
Yes. But for a husband, because he's not going to carry a baby, he has no home. So
God has not yet provided that.
Yes. So it is okay with a man to be negative or to be positive. But for a woman, you need to take serious consciousness about
if you're negative.
By the way, it is very important for everybody out there to know your blood group at least. And even when you're not sick, at least pass by those specialists,
and you know your blood group.
It is very important.
Because at any time, anyone can need a transfusion.
And even for those who are planning to get married, it is also very important to know your blood group, so that you can know how to support your wife. Yes. Because if you know the condition, then you can encourage her, let's go for this treatment so that you can get it. But if you don't know blindly, then you may get challenges and begin complaining, blaming people for your misfortunes, which may not be realistic as such.
When it's not a misfortune as per se.
Human beings are funny. Even for things that they know,
they
must find who to blame.
Okay. Okay, now I have a question here for you. It says, Doctor, I have a question. Is there any complications a patient gets after being blood transfused? Because a nephew of mine was transfused with blood for 3 consecutive weeks, but later got some skin patches on their body. What could have been the cause of that?
Okay. So when it comes to transfusion adverse reactions or autoimmune reactions as a result of blood transfusion, they are there. And that is true. Some are acute, they may come immediately, actually within 24 hours. Yes, you can begin to have such reactions. You may get chills, you may get feverish, you may get headache, backache, chest pain, heaviness in the breathing. But these will most of the time come when there are some incompatibilities. like what we've been talking about. If there is some incompatibility on the research type, then you expect that. And then if it is in the grouping, then you also expect such complications to come. And if they come and you see them like now, these are short ones, then they must be responded to immediately. Because what happens is, here we are talking about antigen antibody reactions, and when these reactions take place, they cause hemolysis, breakdown of the red cells. So even the relevance of the transfusion now ceases, because each blood that is entering is being broken down, you're losing more blood. And when this blood reacts inside, it may even cause some agglutination of the cells, what's called clamping, like I don't know how can I bring it, but clamping or agglutinating. So it makes some particulates or particles or clots in such a way, in as much as they're not real clots, and this can be very dangerous, because when such is circulating into your body, it's getting into the lungs, getting into the heart, blood is circulating to every part of the body, to the brain. There could be blockages, and what happens next? You may get a heart attack and pass on. You may get breathing complications because the blood is not reaching, oxygen not reaching the lungs very well and not to breathe properly. Actually, anything which blocks the proper flow of blood into the body is very dangerous.
Very dangerous.
And then other reactions may come at some time after the transfusion.
Like this one says they have the skin patches.
So this could be as a result of the low concentration of the antibodies at the time, because the amount of the antibodies and antigen is not always the same. Because for us in the hospitals there, even when we are doing some blood grouping, we do our reactions, and there are some agglutinations. There are some strong agglutinations, and then there are some weak agglutinations due to smaller quantities or low quantities of the antigens and the antibodies. So some of these reactions come on later as a result of either the missed groupings or identification due to such low antibodies and antigen concentrations, or it could as well come as a result of some infections which could have been missed out
when they were screening
the blood, and later on these things can happen. You see, by the way, blood for transfusion is safe, but it's handled by human beings. So you never know, there could have been some errors or some contaminations at one point, which may cause some other reactions, which may not necessarily be related to the blood group or as such.
Okay. So I want us to talk about the clotting factors in blood.
Clotting factors are many, and these are proteins in blood. There are proteins in blood, like a fibrinogen, we have the globulins. Clotting factors, actually, in simple terms, these are proteins which help the blood to clot at the right time, because blood is not supposed to be liquid all the time. At some point it's supposed to clot for specific purposes. Now, like, let's say if you have gotten a cut and blood is oozing out profusely, the blood has its own mechanisms of arresting the blood flow so that you don't lose a lot of blood and probably collapse or even die. Because when you lose a lot of blood, you may eventually die. So these clotting factors are the ones which help to now clamp the red cells or the blood cells together with the platelets and form that clot. So if you don't have enough clotting factors, then you may lose blood. Even a simple cut, like for people who have hemophilia, yes, they have hemophilia and they lack some particular clotting factor. So it means to them that a simple cut on them, even a simple bruise, can result into excessive bleeding. Yes, but apart from those clotting factors, we also have the blood platelets we've been talking about. Platelets also help in blood clotting. Yeah, so these ones are important in such a way that they help us not to excessively lose blood. Yes.
Now, what brings about those clots people get? You see someone gets like, maybe they fall or something, or just clots come in their body and you hear, maybe I have a clot in my leg or in my brain.
Those clots would be caused by a number of factors. One, it could be trauma. If you hit by something, a blunt object, and it affects the blood vessels, or there is any internal bleeding, that blood can clot out of that trauma. And when it clots, it can be carried into the blood vessels to a certain part of the body and can be clot down there, which is not very good. By the way, any blood clot is not very good. It is dangerous, and should you suspect that you have one, then you need to seek medical attention as quick as possible. Then other clots may come as a result of infections. Yes, if you have an infection and maybe it causes some bleeding somewhere or some inflammation somewhere, it can cause a clot to be somewhere. Then to some, it is excessive clotting factors beyond the necessary, that they may cause blood to clot unnecessarily anywhere in the body, which is also not very good.
Very good. Okay, this was interesting. We have learned, I know that we have left out so many things that we have not talked about. I think we'll have another program, still do a continuation on blood, because there's so much we need to know about blood. But our time has been spent. We cannot take it anymore from here. We'll have to say goodbye for now and see you next week as we talk more about more things. Thank you. God bless you. What are you doing?